Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some more massive news coming in for this Michigan program, coming out of the recruiting trail. Three-star wide receiver Jamar Browder committing to this Michigan program, flipping his commitment from NC State to Michigan. The Michigan fans who've been rocking with the boys the last couple of weeks, y'all know how I feel about this kid. I think he is a complete diamond in the rough. I look at his recruiting ranking and just kind of scratch my head. And I don't normally say that. I think 24/7 Sports, On Three, Rivals, wherever you like to look to get your rankings, I think they normally do a pretty damn good job. You look at the physical traits that this kid brings to the table, and then you look at the film and say it's hard to see him being a low three-star according to 24/7 Sports. I not only really like the player, but I really like what he brings to this Michigan offense, where I've been pretty critical of this downfield passing attack for Michigan. And look, there's a lot to be critical about. I think it certainly starts with the quarterback position, but I think it permeates to the pass catchers on the outside. I mean, you look at the pass catchers for Michigan in 2024 and say, outside of Colston Loveland, what wide receivers excel working vertically down the field? We don't have that big body boundary X wide receiver that can make defenses, kind of respect what they can do vertically. That's exactly what Jamar Browder brings to this Michigan offense. So not only do I really like the player, but I really like the skill set and fit for this Michigan offense as well. 6'4", 205, former basketball background. When that football is in the air, he can go make plays like the best of them in the 2025 class. And again, Michigan, we don't really have that wide receiver that can go make plays for a quarterback down the field. I think Jamar Browder can be that guy, and I think he's physically ready to contribute awfully early to this Michigan program, fired up to get into, a little bit of the film, and then also have the conversation of where's Michigan going the rest of the way in this 2025 cycle. Now, before we get into it, as always, to the Michigan fans, y'all know I'm a Michigan fan. It's been a rocky 2024 season. Y'all have continued to show a ton of love, a ton of support to the fellas. I can't thank y'all enough. It's going to be a very exciting next couple of weeks and months for this Michigan program. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Jamar Browder. I want to start with just the numbers that he's putting up at the high school ranks. Over 2,000 total receiving yards and 26 touchdowns during his high school career. In his senior season, 40 catches, over 800 yards in just 7 games. He's averaging over 20 yards per catch. That's exactly the skill set that we're looking for to inject into this Michigan offense. And you kind of look at the pass catchers that Michigan is bringing in the 2025 class. I think it starts with tight end Andrew Olish, who is, for lack of better terms, just a matchup nightmare, one of the best tight ends that we see in the 2025 class. Then you couple that with Andrew Marsh, who I think is all around just such a solid wide receiver that you can do so many different things with. And then you inject two guys in Jacob Washington and Jamar Browder that are those bigger bodied, fast wide receivers that can work vertically down the field. And you're seeing Michigan build a pass catcher room that has a lot of different skill sets, but I think more importantly, a lot of high upside talent, which is not really what we can say for this Michigan pass catcher room in 2024. It's nice to see Sherrone Moore, this offensive staff, look at the problems that present themselves with this Michigan roster and, get proactive on the recruiting trail to try to fix some of those holes within this Michigan offense. I think Jamar Browder is certainly filling, outside of the quarterback position, probably the biggest hole within this Michigan offense, and that is that bigger bodied boundary X wide receiver that can work vertically down the field. Now you get into the film, that the film's a blast to watch. And again, you turn on the film and say, I just don't get why this kid is not getting more respect according to the rankings. I mean, you take a look at some of the stuff that he puts on the film. This is what he specializes in, just like working vertically down the field. Really has some nice long speed. He's not necessarily the most shifty wide receiver in terms of creating separation, which makes sense when you're talking about a 6'4", wiry boundary pass catcher. Working vertically down the field in terms of tracking the football and kind of taking the top off of defense certainly can do that. This is what I love most. And again, this is probably the biggest problem with this Michigan wide receiver room is who's making these kind of plays for Michigan in terms of, hey, go up and make a play. We don't really have that kind of guy. Jamar Browder's that guy. I mean, you can tell that basketball background, body control, high pointing the football, staying on his feet. That's that kind of wide receiver that Michigan is just missing. Love what he can do over the middle of the field as well. Couple things that stand out on this rep. One, that big catch radius, it's just so easy for a quarterback to put it on his frame. But more importantly, look at the body control, the coordination. I mean, kind of a 360 here, staying on his feet, operating after the catch. He's a load to bring down after the catch as well, which you can see. He's kind of a fluid athlete for that size as well. I mean, you start looking into the film and say, what boxes is this kid not really checking? I think this is a massive get for Michigan. You continue to work through the film and you continue to see different ways they get him involved. How about what he can do after the catch? Again, he's got some nice vertical speed, but I love just how physically imposing he is as a ball carrier. When you talk about yards after the catch, there's kind of different ways you can manufacture. You can get the quick, shifty guys like Samaj Morgan that are going to make you miss and kind of hurt you if you take bad angles. Then you can get some of these kind of guys like a Drake London at USC, where it's like yards after the catch come from defensive backs just can't bring this kid down because he's too big and physical. I think he checks a lot of boxes. I think most importantly, just big. He commands the middle of the field. Commands the middle of the field. Big catch radius. Good hands. Really good after the catch. This is the exact kind of wide receiver that Michigan, in my opinion, has been missing. And I think you look at Michigan's class in 2025, and you kind of get the feeling that it's nowhere near being done. I think you start with Elijah Dotson, who is another really fascinating prospect that the more I get into the film, and we might be breaking him down relatively soon from Belleville, I think he could also play wide receiver, especially with how loaded the defensive back room is getting for Michigan. Michigan is filling it up with young, talented guys in the defensive backfield. Elijah Dotson currently certainly could play safety. I think he certainly could be a pass catcher too. I mean, you take a look at the film between him and Bryce Underwood just going to work in the state of Michigan the last couple of years. I like Elijah Dotson as a pass catcher for Michigan as well. And Ron Bellamy is in on that recruitment, being a kid that's in the state of Michigan. And then I think finally, we got to talk about Bryce Underwood. That's the crown jewel for this Michigan program in 2025. But what I really like about Michigan and what they're doing is, hey, we want to go get Bryce Underwood. He's one of the more special quarterbacks we've seen at the high school ranks. But when we get Bryce Underwood, we want to make sure that around the quarterback position, there's enough talent for him to be successful. This Michigan offense with Bryce Underwood at the helm, if it happens, is going to look a lot different from what it looks like in 2024. It's going to be reliant on the passing attack. They're going to lean into it when you have a quarterback like Bryce Underwood. In order for Bryce to have success, you want to make sure you're filling it up with talent around the quarterback as well. Jamar Browder, certainly one of those guys. I think, one, I love the kid. Like, I love the player that Michigan is getting. But I think just as importantly, you absolutely love the fit within this Michigan offense, just filling a massive void in terms of the skill set that Michigan has in this pass catcher room. A lot to be really excited about for Michigan. And again, it's been a rough 2024 season. At least it's good to see Sherrone Moore in this Michigan program pulling out all the stops to get it right in 2025. I mean, they're hammering the recruiting trail. I expect them to get really aggressive in the transfer portal. Going to be really exciting next couple of weeks. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.